Alright guys, Hutchgramic again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The ROKKR home series begins tonight, but Schulte isn't sure which of the ROKKR Academy or their starting roster is actually the better team, largely because Optic played both of those teams in scrims last night and did not lose a single map. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. It's April Fool's today. That means the worst day of the year, certainly in esports I think. You're going to see a lot of stuff like this today, so just stay vigilant. What wasn't a joke though was some of the DMs I was getting overnight because of a bit of challenges drama last night. Just thought I'd needed to address this because there was a lot of talk about this overnight, and I thought that my point here, first of all, I'm flattered by Ant's comment at the start of this tweet. I thought my point was getting slightly misinterpreted, let's say. So look, I'm a supporter of challenges. I've followed it for years. I cover the elite and the championships and the cups and the stories of the players and the most promising ones, and I've always tried to give a platform to that scene and the importance it has in the actual health of the ecosystem in general. So we were discussing a couple of days ago, you guys might have seen the video, Doug Sintermartin's comeback 213 to 37, remarkable comeback, incredibly impressive. I certainly didn't say that it wasn't, but I was discussing, my intention was not to belittle challenges, but was to make the point that Doug's comeback is not, as he says, the greatest hardpoint comeback in Call of Duty history. This isn't necessarily because it's in challenges, more so because it was an elite match. It was the first elite game, they lost it, right? And elite is equivalent, the regular elite games are equivalent to like a regular league match in the CDL side, but happen even slightly more frequently in this case. It wasn't a Challengers Cup Grand Finals, it wasn't a LAN match, it wasn't in front of a crowd. If this had been Challengers on LAN, then it carries a lot more weight. So I wasn't trying to play down the importance of challenges, I was trying to play down that this specific comeback and the circumstances in which it unfolded is not equivalent to some of the greatest comebacks ever that have happened on LAN in front of a crowd. And I'm not saying that I phrase this perfectly here, but I will say it frustrates me somewhat that I've tried to support the Challenger scene for the entire history really of this channel, and I do understand why this happens, but every time you would credit a player or credit a team or a particular performance for doing very well in challenges, no one's going to tweet out and say, oh yeah, you know, thanks for the credit type thing. But whenever you phrase something badly for the first time in however long, then the entire challenger scene apparently is on Twitter trying to come and get you. So I don't know, I'm just going to leave it there, but I still, to be honest, stand by what I said. A few interesting details from last night's matches. Firstly, this from Tim I thought was crazy. 3 of the 4 LA Thieves players this year have now dropped a donut in Search and Destroy. Drazah did it against FaZe, and Octane has done it against FaZe. Both of them lost that map, of course, but last night Kenny goes 0-5 for the win against Unknown. Got a fair bit of damage, he was getting kills stolen, so Envoy's donut is potentially coming soon. So, you know, Envoy's like, yeah, hopefully I'll get the W version when I drop a donut, which seems to be inevitably going to happen at some point or another. Also, lots of additional credit going to TJ last night. Even Scrappy was giving him a lot of credit, well, you know, in an interesting way, in Scrappy's kind of way on Twitter last night. And also, Dashi was giving credit to Sender, right? Because, obviously, FaZe, we know how good they are in Search and Destroy, and to beat them last night, Game 5, Round 11 on LSELO from New York was impressive. Inevitably, it's going to happen, right? If you're a team like FaZe, you've been dominating Search and Destroys, every team in the game is going to look, especially at LSELO, how you play, how to counter it, and, you know, teams such as Toronto at the Major and now Subliners have come up with some answers in certain situations to how to counter FaZe's setups, and, you know, Dashi's basically like, look, Sender and the guys did a great job in making that happen, and obviously was crucial to their win last night. And really, speaking of FaZe, it's an interesting part they're in, because last night they didn't seem particularly happy on the broadcast after they'd lost that series. As Simp says, I'm somewhere between feeling like I'm terrible and feeling like a god. So I play Florida Sunday, so it should be a bounce back series for them. But definitely there did seem to be some frustration in play. And of course, look at the pure numbers. Slash's performance wasn't particularly good. I think really Cellium had decided, I think they might have decided as a team to get Cellium in the hill a little bit more. Maybe there's an argument to say that Slash should just be the guy soaking the hill time now, because obviously you don't want Simp soaking the hill as he's done before. But in fairness, even without necessarily soaking so much hill time, Simp's still at a 0.9 in this series, so there are some things for FaZe to solve, but they might have to just change things around a little bit more in the respawns here just to really understand what's going wrong for them, because yes, they played a good hardpoint team last night, but it still wasn't a particularly impressive performance, especially from Slasher. It didn't even get much hill time either, so questions to be answered there. And look, it's online, Slasher's going to turn up better on LAN, but of course online is pretty important. You got to win some series, get to winners bracket, all that stuff. So as BC says, you know, lost 2-3 at the end of the day, but he always does these these tweets, right, but didn't seem so happy because he knows how well he's playing right now. I'm absolutely sure of it. Let's talk about the Optic situation then. I'm sure you guys have seen already Ghosty's eavesdrop podcast he did with Hex. I thought was really great to see. I don't know if you guys have listened to this, you'll know and really appreciate more about Ghosty's story and how he came up through the CCL, through challenges, and how he's made it to where he is today, and all the challenges and hardships that he's faced so far. So I'm sure a lot of people, even if Ghosty doesn't stay on Optic for the long term, or if he does, will really be supportive of this guy's career. He's obviously got the talent to make it happen, and it's great to see that he is. So I thought I'd just shout out a really awesome story there from Ghosty that if you guys haven't seen yet, definitely recommend you check out. But this is the Shotzzy situation. So they also released last night kind of a post-event press conference between, well, all the four guys commenting on what happened back at Major 3. But Shotzzy was giving his thoughts on stream last night after the matches concluded. What about their most recent performances in their scrims last night up against the teams they played? So they missed, of course, up against scrims against Vegas the other day because they had food poisoning. Now, I believe Shotzzy clarified last night that Dashy hadn't really got food poisoning, but he just eaten way too much. Like, they went to this like Korean barbecue place, then he went home and got Taco Bell, then he ate something else. So I think Dashy was basically just dead. I don't think it was food poisoning, was Shotzzy's opinion, that he was like just had enough and he just couldn't do scrims because he just wasn't feeling particularly good. You put that amount of questionable quality food in your body, you know, it's not going to be too happy with you at times. So last night they decided, all right, instead of doing one set of scrims, we'll do two sets of scrims. Firstly, up against the ROKKR starting team, their new starting team, with Fame in, of course, for Attach the other day, and then their Academy roster as well, which has still been very good over the last couple of months. Is it Too Real that stepped into the team? I couldn't really find any confirmation of this, but I believe it might be Too Real that stepped in for Fame in their Challengers team. So they played both of them last night, but Shotzzy says, look, we played both of those teams and absolutely fried both of them. It was a 10 out of 10 scrim set from Optic. They didn't lose a map, so we're talking like they probably scrims, what, 16 maps between the two of those teams, and they didn't lose a single one. I mean, that's pretty remarkable from the Optic side, but also Shotzzy's like, well, you know, the amateur team, based on what we played, might actually be better than their starting squad.
There's no roofs to go and B, right? There's no glass or anything, right? We scrimmed both ROKKRs. We scrimmed both ROKKRs.
That's when you start spawning Legion over towards the B side and into a potential blender.
Or both ROKKR and ROKKR Academy.
Control over towards the A side. They are going to try and do something about it. We'll find one, but that's going to be probably an extra minute. Not quite. Just about from Vivid. The seconds.
Which one is better? Like you're saying, like.
Towards the B side, Legion. A little bit of control over there now. Can they find the kills and lock down some decent time?
It's a big kill from Standy. The reinforcements.
Oh, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro.
They start losing players. Beans will find two, though, so it doesn't really matter.
Yo, you need to trim bad. On God, Hixie? Think so?
Temp has done a big job there just by stopping the clock.
Team Academy. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot like the. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I actually don't know, bro. We're just like sick to like an invisible wall. Very scrims 1 out of 10. Oh, 10 for sure. Put it like this, bro. We didn't drop a map today. That's all. Actually, yeah, well, I didn't. So that's why I'd say 10. I usually say 9. Because obviously, you know, we probably lose a map or two. But we actually didn't lose that. That's why whenever someone asks, like, main ROKKR or ROKKR Academy, I don't even know, dude. And I feel like the ROKKR Academy, they just play more loose. That's the best way to put it. And like, I'd probably say them because like, I don't know. It just seemed like they actually were just playing loose and like, I don't know. I feel like I feel like ROKKR is a little bit too like structured, bro. In my opinion, it's like the way they play.
So I do wonder if Attach is thinking, because just the other day Attach said that, well, if he does get benched, as he has been from the team, there is a good chance he'll actually get to return to the starting team at some point, because if they still suck with Fame, they'll probably try another, well, kind of transition there with maybe Attach back in for Cammy or something like that. They could consider further alternatives. Also, maybe Real from their Academy team, or GodRx or Panda, or some of those guys that have been around a long time and have been pros before. Like, they could come back into the team. We'll see how it goes. But it was interesting interesting comment from Shotzi that he doesn't really know who's better because they fried so hard. And we know that Optic are good in scrims, right? There's absolutely no doubt about that one. And, you know, potentially good at this Expo map as well. We saw Shotzi say the other day that he really likes this Expo map, or that Optic have been playing well on it so far. So we'll see if they play that in their game against London on Sunday, or whether London want to allow that into the series there. But, yeah, are Optic just frying, right? We know they're a good scrim team. They've been that way for some time. But to not lose a map against this new Rocker team. Now, Rocker weren't good before, but I thought with this change they should get better. And the Academy have always been like right up there at the top of challengers as well. So, you know, it's expected that Optic would at least lose a couple of maps in those sets of scrims, but apparently they didn't lose any. So I don't know if that says more about how good Optic are playing right now behind the scenes in practice, or how bad Rocker might presently be. I also thought it was kind of funny that Attach mentioned the other day that every team he talked to was also vetoing the new map in Expo. Optic certainly won't because they like it. But of course, in the very first series that was played last night between Boston and Vegas, Expo was seen, and in my opinion is significantly better than some of the other maps we've had so far. So speaking of the Rocket team, of course, this is Fame, and this is their, well, you've got Looney here, Bance and Afro, and everyone getting ready to go for their home series because they've flown out. I don't know who's exactly paid for the expenses here, but Florida and Los Angeles Grillers have flown out to their venue today, and they'll play 2 matches in front of a home crowd. Really awesome idea, and hopefully it goes well for them, and hopefully they can play better in these matches, at least for the fans, than they did in Optic against Optic in the scrims last night. This is the setup. We saw it yesterday if you guys missed it, and that they're getting ready to go today. So not exactly sure how it's going to work from a production perspective because, of course, you've got the online games going on simultaneously to their own games. So I guess the CDL is going to have to figure out a way to like simultaneously do one online game and then kind of broadcast live from this venue on the same broadcast. I don't know how they're going to make it work. Pretty cool stuff though, and I think a couple of the casters, Miles and Chance, I believe, are out there as well in Wisconsin. This is to get ready to go. Before we discuss the series for tonight, then wanted to mention a remarkable stat from Las Vegas Legion, who are topping the standings in this particular statistic category. So this is in the first game of the online qualifiers. They are topping the numbers with Boston. So Boston could have been 4-0 if they'd have won yesterday, but Vegas are now up there with Boston, 3-1 in the season so far in their first match of the online qualifier standing. So I guess Vegas, they should be, if you're going to do this as a rankings, they should be number 1 because they just beat Boston yesterday. So I guess they take the head-to-head there. And of course, like, you know, Optic could still do it. And I guess New York, after winning last night, also joined them there at 3-1. But still, Vegas to be 3-1 in their first game of qualifiers is very impressive considering what they've done in the past. And also last night, Stanley, his first debut match for the team, 94 kills, was the second most kills in a series this season for a Legion player. Clay had 95 at Major 2, but outside of that, 94 kills is the second highest we've seen from Stanley. So already a good start for the Las Vegas Legion. These then are the 4 games of tonight. 2 of these, as I say, are going on. Like Rocker, it's very rare that you play 2 games in a day, but it obviously makes sense today because it's the home series they're doing. So we've got Rocker Mutineers to start things off, then Boston Toronto, then Rocker Gorillas, and then to close out the day a banger. I mean, Boston Toronto will be quite interesting to see if Breach can bounce back because I know in 2 week for them is pretty tough, all things considered. But Thieves Surge should be a cracking series, mate. Both of these teams I think could be very good, especially in the respawns. Surge are probably the best respawn team in the game statistically so far this year. They're certainly right up there, and Thieves are very good in respawn as well. So this should be a banger. Hoping for a game 5. I think I'll take a Thieves game 5 win, but it's going to be a good day for sure. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
I went backstage. I did the walkouts for Optic going into the grand final. And I said something to Scrap. Scrap was talking to me. I don't exactly remember what Scrap was saying to me. He was chatting backstage when I was about to do the walkout, right? And I said to him, get 1 and then talk to me. I probably shouldn't have said that looking back on it, because then he ended up getting 1. And I'm surprised he hasn't brought that up yet. But I'll self-expose because I think it's great.